Hey y'all, welcome back to Motoramblings. I am Patrick. Today I'm riding Big Red, my 2016 Honda Goldwing, and I am heading home from South Dakota, the Black Hills. Now this trip is more about what I'm looking at as I'm riding out of South Dakota. I recorded some on the way, but only on the first day. I fought with some wind, as you know from one of the videos I released. I just decided I was taking it easy. That's why I left Custer a day early, so that I could just take it easy on my way home and enjoy myself. So what you're watching is some of the views along the way that I just really appreciated, and I hope you do too as we chat. What I want to chat about today is what I learned from that trip. Now, I'm not going to sit here and talk about learning how to travel, learning what to take, what not to take, how to manage your bike, how to manage yourself. Every individual is different. There's a million videos out there about long distance travel. It's my first trip out there by myself. Who am I to give expert opinion on the way to travel? I'm not. I mean, I can tell you, and I do tell you a lot about things I learn and experience as I'm doing things. This video is going to be more about what I learned about myself, what I learned about the way I like to travel. Things that I thought I knew about myself that I was dead wrong. Things I thought I knew about myself that, yep, it turned out to be true. So enjoy the views, enjoy the scenery as we chat a little bit about my trip. The trip started with me being invited by one old man riding to go out to Custer at an event that had been going on for a couple of years that they nicknamed Tim Fest, because at the V track, Tim, he's the one who kind of organized it and kind of got it started, he and Frank, I believe. And so they took to calling it Tim Fest. Frank invited me out because, well, he knew I was retired, he knew I wanted to do some traveling. Now, he didn't invite me to go with him, he just invited me out. He said, you know, they're all meeting out there in Custer, and I was welcome to come along, which I thought was great, because I'd only met Frank in person once before that, and I had never met any of the other folks. So, another more evidence that this community is just incredible, absolutely amazing. So Frank invited me, and I kind of hemmed and hawed. At that point, before I actually made my decision to go, I just was not sure if it was something I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if it was something I had it in me to do by myself, to go out on such a long ride. Now, I'd gone to many meetups fairly close to home where I didn't know people, where I may have met one or two. I may have never met any of the folks. I believe the first time I ever went to VAM, I had not met anybody at that meetup in person. I went to the first VAM back in 2020, I think it was. But anyway, I went to that first VAM not knowing anybody. That part didn't bother me. Meeting people, hanging out with people, I love doing that, especially if they're all interested in riding and going out and exploring. Despite what one old man riding, Frank, says, I am a people person. I love to be around people. The problem with going out on this long ride was not the meeting of people when I got there. That was the part I was most looking forward to. What I was concerned about was being out there or I'm sorry, I was concerned about traveling out there by myself. I was going to be in unfamiliar places along the way. I had taken my car to Iowa one time, and I found it incredibly boring. A lot of the ride was just wide open cornfields, and at that time in a car, oh my gosh, at that point I knew why they called it a flyover state. Those are the states you just wanted to fly over and get to where you were going. Anyway, that was part of why I was reluctant. Another part was I was worried, I was nervous. What if something went wrong with the bike? What if I got lost? What if I ended up somewhere where I didn't want to be? All these bad thoughts go running through my head. Should I or should I not make this trip? Well, finally, I convinced myself that one of the reasons I retired as young as I did was, one, well, I didn't want to go to work anymore. Yeah. But two, I wanted to travel, and I really wanted to travel by motorcycle. So here's this opportunity to travel by motorcycle in my retirement that I was hemming and hawing about. Hello, what is wrong with me? So I said, fine, you know what? I'll never know unless I try it. So on a Thursday morning, on a Wednesday morning, bright and early, actually maybe it was Thursday. Anyway, sorry about that. On a Thursday morning, I left bright and early. I left at 5 a.m., which is the first thing that I learned. If I'm going to do a trip going west, and I'm going to be trying to make a lot of miles, I will leave even earlier in the morning, because you're going through time zones and you're going east to west, so you're kind of chasing the sun across the sky, so you end up with a lot more daylight riding hours. So in my case, I left at 5 a.m. and I didn't stop riding until about 10 p.m. But it wasn't that I rode all those hours, because there was a 2-hour time difference by the time I stopped. It turned out I rode a little more than 16 hours going out there from when I left to when I actually stopped. And not many of those hours were in the dark. Of course, when I left in the morning, that was dark, and then there was some dark before I finally stopped. Which brings me to the second thing I learned. Of course, I'm riding what my buddies call a road sofa, or a Honda Civic with 2 wheels. I rode 16 and a half miles. Yeah, that's all. I only rode 16 and a half miles. Yikes. I rode 16 and a half hours on the way out there, all at once. You know, of course, I stopped for gas, and when I stopped for gas, I'd get a snack and a drink. But mostly, I just rode. Now, 16 and a half hours on a Goldwing really is not a big deal as far as physical comfort goes. Now, of course, the mental part of it, you have to be able to know that you're awake, you're alert, you're being safe. And I felt good. Right up until, I was getting toward the end, I felt good. Now, a couple of things were going on. One, I was partway through, I decided, yes, I am definitely going to try to do the 1,000 miles in under 24 hours. And that became kind of a goal, that became kind of a motivation to keep me going. And it worked. I did just over 1,000 miles in those 16 and a half hours. And I learned I can do it. I learned that on this motorcycle, with the right motivation, it's not a big deal. That doing the iron butt is something I feel like I can do, maybe not regularly, but I can do if and when I need to. I learned that I need to prepare a bit ahead of time if I am going to do an iron butt, only in the sense of getting the proper documentation to actually get the certificate from the IBA. So I learned, just on my way out there, I learned a couple of things. One, I can ride that far by myself. I can ride 1,000 miles in one go by myself. That riding that far by myself, not a big deal. I'm looking forward to doing something like that again. It was fantastic. I had all those hours in my helmet, just me, myself, and of course the cameras. And it was fantastic. Now, as far as the flyover states, yes, I got into the flyover states, and yes, there was a lot of times where it was just this flat, wide open expanse. But when you're riding a motorcycle and you're having to concentrate on your immediate surroundings, the road, the traffic, what's going on right around you, those wide open spaces weren't as boring because I was also concentrating on what I was doing. Those wide open spaces are so completely different than what I am used to riding in that it became part of the excitement of the ride. Yes, flat, boring, over and over, mile after mile. Yeah, that sounds a lot worse than it actually was on the motorcycle. Now, if I were to go out there again this coming September and go the same route, would I feel the same way? I'll get back to you on that. I learned that there was nothing to be afraid of. Google Maps, iHeartRadio, it was a nice ride. I never got into a spot where I was nervous. I never got into a spot where I was scared. I never got into a spot where I felt like, oh my gosh, if anything were to happen now, I'm in trouble. In this country, you're traveling interstate, you're traveling on main roads, you're never far from help. We have such technology now that you really don't have to worry about that. It's not like back in the old days where you get out onto a stretch and you're 1,000 miles from the nearest town. No, I was always within reach of getting to a town or making a phone call to get help if I needed it. So that was something that I worried about for no reason. The trip itself, going out to Custer, taught me that I can do this solo stuff. It taught me that I do have what it takes mentally to make a ride like that. I need to do other testing. I want to go on a long distance ride where I'm not going to meet people. Go on a long distance ride where I might be going to a destination by myself, where I don't have the security of a group of people at the other end, and then turn around and come home. That's going to be a different type of ride than what I did. Can't tell you much about that because I haven't done it yet. On the other hand, I also want to do a really long distance ride like that where I am with others on the way out. Maybe not do 1,000 miles a day. Maybe try it to see what it's like to ride with the group that isn't going on my decisions. When I was by myself, every decision I made was for me, for myself, when I wanted to stop, if I wanted to stop, all of it was just for me. I was the only one I had to worry about. Now, going on a ride with others, long distance like that, thinking about the mileage, making sure everybody's got enough fuel, making sure they're staying alert, making sure they're hydrated, all that stuff goes into it. And I look forward to doing a very long distance ride like that. But that's another time, another video, another ride. This video is about what I learned. Again, I learned that traveling solo is something that I can do. I want to do. I'm looking forward to doing it again. It was absolutely amazing, and it was something I learned. I learned that, hey, I can do this, and not only can I do this, but I enjoyed this. Holy cow, it was fantastic. I loved every second of it. The ride out and doing all that stuff, like I said, by myself, for myself. It was fantastic. And talk about clearing your head. When you're riding like that and you're seeing scenery like you're seeing along this video, it just does something to you. I was so relaxed. I had the ability to unwind from everything, and it was something else. That feeling is something I just cannot describe. I recommend you give it a shot though, because wow, it was great. I got out to South Dakota, to Custer, on Friday. Another thing I learned is accommodations are easy to come by for the most part, depending on when you travel, I guess. When I decided to stop on Thursday night after riding 1,000 miles, I pulled over, saw one of the signs that said lodging ahead, pulled over, went to the hotel, boom, had a room. I got to Custer a day early. I called the campground where I had reserved a cabin for Saturday night, and I said, hey, look, I'm here, it's a day early, can I get in early? They were like, heck yeah, come on. And so, no problem, boom, I was in the cabin on Friday night. Another thing I learned was all that traveling, it didn't wear me out, on this motorcycle anyway. I fully intended on the Saturday that I got there that I would rest. I was going to park the bike. I was going to enjoy the day milling around the campground, checking out the sights. The pool was open. Not that I wanted to go swimming or anything, but I was going to hang out at the campground, the Buffalo Ridge campground. But I got up early and I thought, I got all day by myself. I can do whatever the heck I want to do. So what did I do? I got on the bike and I went and I explored the wildlife loop. I explored Custer State Park, which is where the wildlife loop is. I explored Needles Highway, Iron Mountain Road, Mount Rushmore, and I did it all by myself. I went through Spearfish Canyon. It was just fantastic. Before I left, I looked at a map of the area, and of course I pinpointed the things I wanted to see, like the wildlife loop, like Needles Highway, like Iron Mountain Road, like Mount Rushmore. And I said, I'm gonna do this, and I kind of created a little bit of a loop to where I could do all that. And oh my gosh, it was incredible. I got to see all these sights on my time, at my pace. I was up on Needles Highway so early, there was no traffic. It was unbelievable. I rode up that amazing road basically by myself. It was so uncrowded that when I got to Needles Highway and the tunnel, you know, when I got to where the tunnel is and the big overlook and all that, I rode through the tunnel, set my camera up on a tripod, rode back through the tunnel, did a U-turn, and came back through so that I could have that video, and there was nobody around. I didn't worry about the camera going missing. I didn't worry about, you know, having to wait before I could ride through. I didn't worry about having others in the video as I did it. It was just great. The wildlife loop out there with all the animals. I stopped where and when I wanted to stop to take pictures. No, I didn't wait for anybody. Nobody had to wait for me. I didn't have to say, hey, look, I'm stopping here if you want to stop. No, I just did it. Well, Sunday morning comes along, and again, Monday I'm going to meet with the group. So Sunday I'm thinking, I'm going to rest. I'm going to relax. And then I got to thinking about the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. I thought, wow, you know, another state? I can hit another state on this amazing trip that I hit a ton of states I'd never been in. And of course I grew up with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There was no doubt in my mind, I'm going to Devil's Tower. Off I go. Amazing day. I ended up meeting up with the group Monday morning. Now this part of it I already knew about myself. I knew that riding with a group of people, even complete and total strangers, was something that I enjoyed. And it was. Yeah, you know, I absolutely loved hanging out with these folks. It was so much fun. Now we did some of the same riding that I had done on Saturday by myself. We went off and we did some of that same ride with the group. It was a different ride. There was more traffic. It was a little slower. But you know what? It was incredible because we stopped as a group and I got to talk with these folks and hang out with these folks and get to know these folks. And man, I've made some great friendships just in those couple of days that I was hanging out with all of these guys. Tuesday, same thing, rode with them, did a lot of the same rides that I had done before. It was fantastic again riding with these folks. Not only did I get to ride the roads with them and stop and chat, we stopped at places I hadn't stopped when I was by myself. We rode a road that I hadn't ridden when I was by myself. We went to Sturgis, which I had not done when I was by myself. But the best part of it was the group, the people. Meeting these people, talking to these people. Again, it was just so incredible. But again, I knew that about myself. I knew that hanging out with these people, riding with these people was going to be fun. I had no illusions about that. That part of it, I had no doubt. So yes, I learned a lot on this trip about myself, about traveling solo, about long distance riding. One of the things I will say that I think it was just pure luck. Tim and Frank and all these guys, you know, Custer, South Dakota was a place they decided to do this meetup, and they've been doing it for years now. For me, it was just a stroke of luck that this was my first long distance ride. And what I think I learned from that is that if I were to tell somebody to go on a long distance ride to a destination, I would recommend something like Custer, because there is so much to do and so much available at Custer and that Black Hills area of South Dakota. Going to Custer, especially for me coming from an incredibly beautiful area for motorcycles and motorcycle riding, Custer is perfect. You've got everything. Incredible sights, incredible views, incredible places to visit. For a destination ride, I just think it's absolutely perfect, especially for a first time. So that's what I learned on the trip, folks. Well, if you made it this far, I'm impressed. Thank you so much. I had a blast out on that trip. I've already made plans to go back out and do it again. I won't record as much because it's going to be my second time. But this first trip, I had to record everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone can stay well, stay safe. Most of all, stay happy. Oh, check out this video. Yeah, you might like it. Motoramblings out. See ya.